Hello folks, welcome to the United channel. Today we just continuing JavaScript tutorial using FreeCodeCamp website. Let's move on to the lesson where we stopped last time. Navigate back to this tab. We stopped in this lesson 21, which is going to be first lesson in this tutorial. In the last lesson, if you remember, we learned how to declare array in JavaScript. So in this lesson, we'll ask us to how we can reassign one of the array item. So using this similar example here, for example, this array of number of 1, 2, 3, and we can reassign the value of number as the first number inside this array to equal 25 instead of 1. So using this example, calling the variable name square bracket, then the index of the element that we need to change its value to new value, which is in this case 1. To be equal, in this case is going to be 2. Basically, we are using the index of the element, the index 1, which should refer to the element, second element here. As you remember, we use index in JavaScript to access each element inside an array. So index 1 refers to 2 in this case. We reassign the 2 to be 25 instead, and the new value will be printed here 125.3. At the end, it's asking us to change the third element inside both array to equal 10. So we have the variable here, the third element here in this array, chan, to be 10 instead of this text. How we can do that? Let's just navigate to this input here and start type the variable name, which is called rows, then square bracket. Then the index of the element that we need to change, which is the third one. The always indexes of the array start from 0, 0, 1, 2. Then the index of that element is going to be 2. Assign it to a new variable equal 10, and add a semicolon at the end. And now just run your code, check your code. Sorry, there is something wrong. We need to console log out this new value. So let's console log the rows. And now it will print the new array, including the new value 10 instead of this char text. So check your code again to submit the changes that successfully run. Move on to the next lesson. And in JavaScript, there is a way to access the total number of elements inside the array using length method. In this example here, instead using array or the variable name dot length will give you the total item inside an array. For example, if you need to get the total number of this item inside the rows array, we'll use rows dot length will give you 3. We have 3 elements inside this array. If we need to access the dynamic index in an array, we can use array dot length to get the total number, and then we can subtract a specific number to access a specific index. For example, in this case, or in the previous lesson, we used index 2 to access the last item inside this array here. So if we need to use length method instead of adding 2, for example, if whatever number, but we don't know the number of that, and then for example, imagine you have an array of 1,000 elements. We can't, or maybe more or less. If we need to access that dynamically, we can use length instead. So same of these two numbers, we can use rows dot length, which equal to 3. So the total number of this item is 3. We need to subtract that by 1 minus 1, then that equal 2. Basically, everything will be displayed same, nothing will be changed. But now we access the index of this element dynamically using length method. So now you can check your code successfully that is passed and move on to the next lesson, lesson 23. And in this lesson, basically, will ask us to just remove these two console log and check your code successfully that's run and submit the changes. And again, we'll ask you to be a supporter if you are interested. Otherwise, you can click on Ask Me Later. And just click on Ask Me Later. Scroll here. So in this lesson 24, it asks you to declare a variable called cities of these 3 cities here. Let's declare that variable using let key method. Let's just declare a variable here using let keyword and call it cities and assign it to an array. This array have these 3 cities inside. Copy that and port types inside here. And let's just remove and separate each city using comma. And after declaring cities variable, it's asking us to change the last element inside the cities to be called Mexico City instead of Mumbai. How to do that, if you remember from the previous lesson, but before that, let's add a semicolon at the end of this line. If you remember in the previous lesson, if you need to reassign one of the array element, we can use the variable name of that array, and then the square bracket, then the index of the element, we need to change its value. For example, in this case, it's going to be called cities, the variable name, and then square bracket, the last item of this array. We are going to use the index of this element, which starts 0, 1, 2. Let's add a 2 here, then assign it to the new value, which is going to be called Mexico City. Let's check the code, and there is an error. We need to add a console log for the cities. Let's also add a semicolon here. Console.log, then cities, and check your code again, and see there is another error. We need to have two console log, another console log before changing the value, and second one after changing the value. If you see in the first log, we see Mumbai here, London, New York, Mumbai, but the second one, London, New York, Mexico City. So now let's check your code. Boom, that congratulations, your code passed. Submit the changes and move on to the next lesson. 25 here. Let's just ask us to remove all this console log out. Let's check your code. There is an error. We need to remove this variable as well. Remove the cities variable, and just keep those, check your code, submit the changes that successfully run. And now in the lesson 26, we are going to learn the first method or the second method of the array in JavaScript, which is called push. So if you would like to push an element to the end of an array, you can use push method. In this example, for example, if you want to push an element to an array, dot push, then the element that you want to push. In this case, in this example, is going to be 12, but here it's asking you for this example to push FreeCodeCamp to the array of to this rows array. So how to do that? We need to call the variable name, which is going to be called rows dot push, then the value that we need to push to this array. So this array currently has only 3 elements, if you see here on the right side. But now after adding this new element, we should have 4 elements. So add that here. If you see that now we have 4 elements inside this array, check your code, and congratulations, your code passed, submit the changes, and move on to the next lesson. Lesson 27 here. The third method of the JavaScript array, pop. So for example, if you want to remove last item from an array, you can use pop method. And this will be assigned to the return variable, the item that you removed. Let's see how that looks like. So it's asking us to create a variable called pop here. And to create a variable, as I remember, we use let keyword, and then the variable name, assign it to this here, rows.pop. So this will remove the last item of this array, the array it has. So now before that, let's cut this. It will have 4 items, so but after calling pop, we'll remove the last item. Let's call the pop again. So now we have only 3 items. The removed item will be assigned to this pop variable. And at the end, it's asking us to console log out this pop. Let's just console log pop variable, and add a console log here afterwards. And that's displaying the removed variable at the end here. Check your code. And that's congratulations, you called pass, submit the changes, and move on to the next lesson, which is 28. As we learned in the previous lesson, the pop method will return the remove item, and this lesson will ask you to create a new variable called push and assign it to the using push method, and we need to see what's going to be look like. And let's just assign this to a variable. This exists one, using let method push equal to rows.push. Let's remove this here and check your code. And there is an error. It's asking us to console log out this push here. Push is a variable. So basically, push will display the item, the number of the item of that array, which is going to be 4. The initial is 3. After we push this FreeCodeCamp, now we have 4 items inside that array. So if you now check your code, congratulations, your code passed and submit the changes, and move on to the next lesson. And in this lesson, basically, we'll confirm that the pushed variable is supposed to display 4 items, as we saw in the previous lesson, and same that exists here. And now we can remove these variables and console log after we learn how to use .push method and .pop method as well. Let's remove this from here. And check the code. Congratulations, your code is passed. Submit the changes. Move on to the lesson number 30, which is going to be the last lesson in this tutorial. And now it's asking us to change this double quotes of this hello world to single quotes. So there is no difference in JavaScript between single quotes and double quotes. The only difference basically you need to keep consistent. If you use a single quotes, you can use it for all your code. Otherwise, if you use double quotes, keep using double quotes. You don't try to mix them unless you have to. Sometimes there is some cases maybe you have to mix them, but by default, try to keep use one example. Now let's just run the code, and there is another issue here. Basically, it's asking to keep using double quotes instead of single quotes. So only here that is just explaining the difference between the double quotes and single quotes as I mentioned. So the only difference is to be consistent across your project using either double quotes or single quotes. Shouldn't make a difference unless if there is a specific logic you have to mix both of them. So let's just run your code again. Congratulations, your code passed and submit the changes, and this will move on to the next lesson, which lesson 20 or 31, which is going to be on the next tutorial. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next tutorial.